Hey there, welcome to Marketing Mavericks with IndieFolio. Today we have Sakket V. Rao, the head of brand marketing at Dr. Vaidya's. Saket's got an incredible experience spanning over 15 years, where he's worked with some top agencies and top brands. Ogilvy, Publicis are some agencies he's worked with, and then he jumped to the brand side where he worked with companies like MasterCard, Housing, Pristine Care, Barclays, Tootsie, and now Dr. Vaidya's. I may have missed one, two names here and there because he's had an incredible experience. Really excited to have a conversation around brand and marketing with him today. And thanks a lot, Sakit, for your time. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Kavan, for having me, and great to be here.
I'll start off with the first question, which I had, which I ask everybody, which is, how do you really started off with marketing? I when I saw your experience and your background, I think if I'm not wrong, really earlier on, you had decided that this is a path you want to take. You were working on media and communication. You were part of an acting school with some top folks. So I wanted to know from you, when is it the first time you decided कि यार marketing में career बनाना है?
Okay, so it's an interesting story. So my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was a sort of an amazing storyteller. While I was the only audience for him, but I think he had a very profound impact on me in terms of storytelling. And I think I got into the listening to Ramayana, Mahabharata, and multiple other things very early on, and I think that remained with me. And I think after that I got into theater. I started writing, directing, acting at a very young age. I found my peace on the stage. So I tell people that what I could not say in real life, I could say it on the stage. So that became my safe haven in that sense. I also got lucky. I learned Hindustani classical music, blah blah blah. So I was in the creative field. I was drawing, I was acting, painting, and multiple other things. So I've been on the creative side from as long as I can remember. So that is what happened, and I think marketing was the direct place that I could be. And I was very smart to realize that acting mein dal nahi galegi yet. While I can act now, but I was too smart that time to realize that it's not the easiest way to have a creative career, and so was directing or writing or any of those creative pursuits. So uh, but I was also a good student, तो थोड़ा समझ था कि how to kind of maneuver your career. So I didn't really have anybody guiding me. I think it was very easy for me to decide that marketing is the place that I want to be. So I'm the only student from my class who decided that he needs to be in marketing and is in marketing. So that is how it is. So
Fantastic. So, Sakit, one dilemma I keep on seeing in my friends today is that a lot of them think that, yeah, if I'm creative and I like these campaigns, I'll go to a marketing field. But I often see, and I also, know that you've also been looking at, let's say, a leadership role like a CEO, which is more strategic in nature. And I also see a lot of marketers becoming CEOs. I also have worked with CMOs, and I know it's more strategy than just creative. So, how do I know if I'm in my 20s right now and I really want to be like, okay, I like creative? Is marketing the right job for me? Or even if I'm not really creative or artistic, but I have a strategic brain, will still marketing be the right path? If you could unpack that.
okay, thanks for that question. It's an interesting one. So see, basically, uh, I think I can give all the gyan and direction that I can, but to each his own. Okay, so only thing that I would leave you with is that uh, I think in the initial few years, maybe about 3 to 5 years of your career, explore. Okay, try to be on the agency side because you get exposure to a lot of brands. It's a great way to start, and you can do anything. Like you can do agency side normal. You can work with the production house. So explore. I think exploring is the best way to realize where you want to go. I started with advertising, and I very early on realized that. I did not enjoy only the end part of it, which is creating of the creative. I always would like the strategy part of it because I think more as a personality, I love the journey more than the destination. So I think I realized that very early on, and that helped me decide that I want to be on the marketing side very early on. So I think the initial exploration helped. Some people might realize it as early as I did. Some people might need their time, but hence the need to explore. So if you assume you start your career at about say 23, 24, till the time you're 30, please don't give yourself a heart attack by thinking, overthinking. Just explore. I think at some point you will realize and you will make the switch. You will stay back or you will move on. So just enjoy the process. I think enjoying is what is needed. uh, पैसा आ जाएगा. I think the Three Idiots line ki, go behind excellence and you will get the money. I think that remains to be true. That will always happen.
Fantastic. So I think, yeah, it's a good advice. That don't take anybody's advice. Expose yourself, learn firsthand, because it can go really any way. In these podcasts, I've spoken to engineers who become marketeers, artists who become marketeers, and so many other interesting paths. So really, really believe in what you just said. You mentioned one thing on the agency front, right? And I wanted to also get your perspective there. That's another dilemma, right, for marketers कि यार should I go with the agency side, should I go on the brand side? और पहले usually लोग agency करते हैं फिर brand पे जाते हैं. So can you explain what's really the difference between working with an agency versus a brand, and if you can add in any pros and cons uh, in taking these paths?
All right, so I'll only speak from my experience. Okay, my experience would always push me and nudge others to go and start working with an agency, because you get a exposure to lot of brands. Okay, so the advantage of working with lot of brands is you realize very early on कि आपको क्या पसंद है. Like which kind of brand would you like to really work on? Because uh, I very early on in my career got selected by HUL to work on now Unilever, to work on wheel, and I was to join them, but I realized that yeah, that is not something that I want to do. मैं साबुन नहीं बेचना चाहता alone. So I chose to let go of that opportunity, but that only happened because I had worked in an agency. I had the advantage of having worked in multiple categories to have taken that decision. So I will always urge people to join advertising, explore various brands that you want to work on, and that advertising allows you to do many things. It allows you to do brand planning, strategic planning. Sometimes you may go get into brand identity work, which is a exciting field in itself. So it will allow you to do multiple things, explore further, and then move to the brand side, because when you're going there you have an arsenal of experience, and you're not limited by your worldview of only what the brand tells you. Because when you join a large company or a small one, in whichever form, a startup or an MNC, there would be a certain way that the brand thinks. So you will not be able to add too much. You will not be as malleable as you would be when you would have worked in an agency, because you will get different perspectives into the mix. So you'll get a production perspective, you'll get an identity perspective, you will get a design perspective, you will get a strategic perspective, you will get a creative perspective. Because agencies allow you to they will push you, right? Every day you'll get a new brief and आपको हर रोज एक नया idea सोचना. It's not the easiest thing to do. And today's world, and while we will address something of that in the later part of the conversation, there's so much creative that you need to push out. How will your brain work if you only have your brand to view? So like I, because of the agency background, I don't seek inspiration from only competition. I seek inspiration from anywhere. So I might look at a Samsung for an advertising, or a Samsonite, or a Mokobara, or a brand which is in my category. So that is only because of the agency experience, because मैं हर जगह से learn करके I can apply. And it could be strategic, creative, in any form. So I would always urge ki start with an agency, get all those experiences, and you have a lot more in your arsenal, and then go attack.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you really develop that intuition for any kind of challenge in marketing when you're working with an agency. Even if you may not be an expert, you have an intuition. So I wanted to ask you, I think if I'm not wrong, when you were in Publici, you were handling Citibank. Did that expose you to banking and this, or BFSI, and is that how you jumped into MasterCard? Basically, what I want to understand is when is the right time, right? Because a lot of people get stuck here. They get in their comfort zone. Ki, yaar, abhi chalo, I'll become NCD, or I'll become CEO or group account something of an agency. When do you think is the right time to switch to the brand side? When do you become a valuable asset for a brand when you're working with an agency?
Okay, so there is never a right time. अगर आपको लगे आपको जाना है तो चले जाओ, because you will, as human beings, we will always second guess ourselves, right? You will always feel inadequate. So and it is okay to feel inadequate, because that means that you're trying. The day you feel you're sorted, मतलब आपने कुछ तो गलती की है. Okay, so you have to feel inadequate. You have to always feel that I don't know if I can do it. So there is a famous Richard Branson quote that if you get a job, say yes and then figure out how to do it. So it's that, it is always that, if somebody, so you have to also trust the judgment of the interviewer. If they see you as a potential, then don't doubt yourself, because maybe they have seen something which you have not really had the privilege of seeing. So you never see yourselves objectively. We are very critical of ourselves, as especially as creative people. We are extremely critical of ourselves, and we will always second guess and we will overthink. So it is okay to do all of that, but sometimes trust an opportunity that comes your way. Trust the interviewer who has given you that opportunity. Trust the organization that has given you the opportunity, and make the jump. So, and when to do that, I think that I will leave to the individual, but you are always underprepared. Please be aware. Even today, every day I go to my work, I am underprepared, because you don't know what curveball is coming your way.
So what was it with you, when you decided to switch from Publici to MasterCard? What was going in your mind? I think that'll be really good fodder for people.
Okay, so I had already worked with Barclays Finance before that for a year and a half. Publici was more like a transition, so I wanted to come back to the agency and check if I really want to come back. I realized very early on that BFSI is something that I like. So Barclays was a good experience. Citibank was a good experience, and then Mastercard was more organic. And Mastercard was a very large brand, right? It was more a pride for me to be having an opportunity to work with that organization. So I chose ki, there are three legacy organizations: Citibank, Barclays, and Mastercard. I think that trio is priceless to have, and just slipping in a Mastercard line there. So yeah, so it was priceless in that sense, truly. And I had such a wonderful time at Mastercard, and I'm glad that I took that plunge. Because I got exposure to work with the India team, the Sri Lanka team, the Bangladesh team. Not almost, I actually helped relaunch Mastercard in two countries, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. I was part of that relaunch, and I think we're doing really well in those countries now. So again, for me, it was I think the trio of those experiences is what I was looking for. The moment I got Mastercard, I was like, let's go for it. And Mastercard was already the lead sponsor for Mumbai Indians and all of that, and I got an opportunity to lead that piece for about 3 to 4 seasons, that UEFA and Grammys and so many other things, and the exposure was truly priceless. I don't think so. There's any better word than that to kind of I call it my schooling in that sense. It's like going back to school was Mastercard, because the breadth and the depth of experience, it can't be beaten.
Incredible. That actually uh, cooks up another question in my mind. And see, as a founder, whenever I have talent coming to me, I tell them, yaar, aap bade company ke saath kaam karoge, you'll be like a small cog in the wheel, but if you come with me, I'll give you ownership. I often have been proven wrong by my close friends, who are doing really important work with big companies purely because of exposure. Like, I have folks who are working in banks, have like a $10 million database they're like sending stuff on. So the amount of scale they're able to expose themselves with really builds really good intuition once again. So if I'm somebody who has an offer from a legacy brand and let's say a young startup, what should I really think about, right? What is the right path according to you? Once again, what choice should I make?
Okay, so I don't think so. You should work with a startup till you have an experience with a legacy brand. You should always choose a legacy brand, because a legacy brand is as scared as a startup. Scared as in, I'm talking positively scared, because they have a lot more to lose than a smaller brand, right? Because they have so much, so many employees, so many stakeholders, so many things that they do on a daily basis, which they don't really want to stop doing. So a legacy brand will always allow you to, actually will push you further than a startup, because startup, like I have worked with startups in the last few years, but a legacy brand has its own beauty. It allows you to It A has the appetite for risk, which is more than a startup. While startup will be more like a cowboy, just take out the guns and shoot. A legacy brand would be more strategic. That if you are entering into a war, let's have all the arsenal that you need. Let's have uh, you know military, something in the sea, something in the air, and then let's attack. Let's have that three-sided attack. So that exposure is truly something that you should look forward to. Don't think कि बड़ा brand होगा तो boring होगा. I think it is more the pop culture which gives you that side of the story, but it is not really the case. A big brand has its own charm, it has its own power, and it has its own exposure. So startup is cool. You should do startup in your career, but do it only when you have worked in a larger company, because you again bring so many ideas to a startup. Startups are you're almost struggling on a daily basis, which is a good thing. You should also learn how to be resourceful. But if you worked in a large brand, you created those resources which you can then use in a startup. So today, I have so many vendors and colleagues from different agencies and experiences that I can utilize them for a startup, and I use them very very strategically. I have used some of them at during my work at Pristine Care and Housing.com and so many other places. I think because I had the arsenal with me, I was able to choose the gun that I wanted to shoot with. So that way.
Awesome. I love that. I think the cost of failure is so high. So they will definitely show you, which is what's really required. I actually have changed my perspective. I mean, it's been 10 years since I've launched this. I was in my 12th grade when I launched the company, and I was, fully jaded with all this Instagram chatter, and hired people in their earlier, young careers to go and do 0 to 1. Thought that, yeah, marketing is not working for me because this is not nothing is working for me. And I realized the people were not ready, and in fact I did not even give them enough inventory to do something with the brand or with the marketing. And then that was big learning for me, that actually you should hire people who've done work at scale, and then they can go back and then figure out what are the right what from these 100 things I have experience in should be the one thing I should do for this company at this stage. So absolutely love that. So Sakit, now I just wanted to move into Pristine Care. If I'm not wrong, I read that it is one of the first healthcare companies to actually build a brand leveraging digital brand and PR. I also see that you've done a lot of exciting advertisements, leverage celebrities, which is not something very common. So I wanted to kind of understand from you, what was your experience in building a healthcare company for the young India or the new India?
So I'll answer this question in two parts. Okay, so first part is the so building a new category is the toughest job a marketer has, right? I think there's nothing more exciting and scary than building a category for a marketer. So I had the privilege to do that in the past, and I kind of use those things, I kind of came in and built Housing.com as a brand, and then Ben Franklin, which is an optical player, as a brand, and all of those things. And I used those category building experiences to applied it for Pristine Care. Having said that, it was not the easiest task. Yeah, the second part of the problem, which is the building a healthcare brand, and you talked about people trusting with a healthcare provider or not. So that was the tough part. I think what we did not realize in the early part of the journey of building the brand is how important are these trust markers for the brand. So we started using actors as experts. So using these trust markers is so important. Is something that I realized after having. So when I started building the brand, we failed miserably in the early few attempts, and there's no shame in admitting that. But I think within the first two failures, we realized, and we did a little bit of self reflection, and you feel the guilt of having spent money on instinct that did not work. But I think we kind of paused very quickly, and the leadership team was very okay with mistakes, which is a good thing. when you're working with a startup, that you have the appetite to have a mistake, which you may not get in a large company. But you will take more time. The mistake that I did would probably not happen, but here the mistake happened. So therefore we realized that trust markers are important. We then also realized how important celebrities are to help break the clutter, so we use that very very effectively. We started with a smaller set of celebrities, then we moved on to somebody as huge as Ritik Roshan to kind of help build the brand. So that journey was very very exciting. Third part, which is using of digital and PR and media, also is an important part of it. So while we were creating a lot of advertising, what we realized early on is that uh, a great advertising piece, if not marketed well, or not, if it doesn't reach the right set of people, it will be a great best kept secret. So we we kind of devise our budget in such a way that a small portion would go in production and creation of advertising and hiring of celebrities, and a very large portion will go in the distribution, which is using of media, which is digital branding and PR. And we also went on IPL twice. We went on India versus England series. We were on the on ground as a branding partner, and lot of exciting things we did. So media was also an important part of building that brand. So to summarize, a building of a category is difficult, so you need to really go back and check how brands have built categories. Secondly, you need to realize that in your category, what are the trust markers that you need to look for. The Either you can do that with research early on, or you, if your brand allows, you make the mistakes and you come back and course correct. Third is you it's my favorite question, is whether or not to use celebrities. I would always urge that you use a celebrity. A right celebrity is a science, but you always use a celebrity because it helps you break through the clutter. Use them well. Don't use them as they are celebrities. And a lot of great examples are there nowadays. A lot of good celebrities. I think Cred has done a wonderful job in use of celebrities. Some of the other brands like Bold Care have done really good job in use of celebrities recently. I'm talking primarily digital, and while they're using media, but their audience is primarily a digital native. So they've done a very good job, and I think we should learn from them as marketers. Always use a celebrity to break through clutter. And lastly, use your media effectively. While all this is fine, you can spend all the money that you like, but if you are responsible for a budget, keep a small budget for production and celebrities, and a much larger budget for distribution. So that is how you kind of go about building a brand, a new category, whether it is healthcare or anything else.
Fantastic. I think that's some really like good like liquid gold coming from you in terms of how to build something new. I had a follow up there. I obviously know this, that you have to experiment and optimize, but when you're doing something new, right? The biggest question marketers and even founders have is कि यार कितना पैसा कितने किस में डालना है, and obviously you'll optimize it over a period of time. But do you have like a go-to rule कि media में इतना डालो, PR में इतना डालो, go and put so much in digital and celebrities etc.? What's the usual split you would recommend?
I think the easiest way is that anywhere between 20 to 30% of your budget goes in production, celebrity, hiring of people, etc. And your 70% goes in everything else. So that is how it should be. So you have to keep a larger chunk of money for distribution, and a smaller chunk for creation. That is one. If you go in a much larger company, that slashes down to about 5 to 7% on creation, and almost 90 to 95% on distribution. Because if you go and check the kind of advertising, say a Unilever does or a PNG does, you will very quickly realize that the media monies is much more than production and celebrity and creation budget. So it is always, so it will, as you scale, your production and creation will always keep going less, and your media will keep going higher.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. On the celebrity point, right? I wanted to ask you, and I know, I think pristine care to chalo is one example, but be it, I think with Dr. Vaidya, there is Lucknow Super Giants with Tutsi. I think you did a bunch of things with Ranveer Singh in '83, Gujarat Titans also, and obviously the Hrithik Roshan ads with Pristine. I'm always curious here. How does the pricing and ROI conversation happen here? Is it that these guys come with like a rate card? Is it that there is a certain kind of impressions and reach you calculate to derive some ROI? wanted to just unpack that for me, because you had so much exposure to so many celebrities and branded partnerships.
So I'll attempt to answer that. So I've been very, very lucky in my career to have worked with pretty much a large bunch of celebrities. So I'm always pro celebrity in whatever sense. So again, I'll break down that answer in two parts. So when you're creating any piece of communication, any piece of advertising, there are two ways, right? I can take you and me and make an ad, or I can take Ritik, which is you, and Shahrukh, which is me, and make an ad. What do you think is going to chances of and assume that the media monies are the same? What are the chances that Shah Rukh and Ritik will cut through? So it is a very,
Of
very,
course,
it's a very, very basic understanding of how pop culture works. A celebrity will always cut through. Always. There is no doubt about it. ROI in that sense is that the media money with a celebrity will be more hardworking than a media money without a celebrity. So of course the idea is that you should always have that 90% or 80% money with in terms of media. If you don't have that, then it's a problem. If you overspent on celebrity and creation, then you've already done a fundamental mistake. But having a celebrity will always help you with the media money ROI. It will help you cut through faster. The same amount of money will work harder, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times harder. Then coming back to the conversation on how do you calculate ROI, right? So every time you use a celebrity, the cut through becomes far better. Your CTRs will improve. If I'm talking about performance and other forms of marketing, your CTRs will improve. Your conversion rates will improve always. Like I can guarantee that it will improve. And if you're using a slightly traditional medium, like out of home radio, or you're using television, even then your ratio of action from those mediums will improve. So I was speaking to Sameer from Policy Bazaar, and every time they would put out an ad with and without a celebrity, the call center would always buzz, because they are one of the they are one of those advertisers who almost advertise 200 plus days on television. Okay, that is the kind of might that they have, that they are able to advertise for that those many number of days. So imagine, the stakes are so high. Having a Akshay Kumar in their advertising, or earlier probably Kapil Sharma in their advertising, would just help them cut through, make that same media money, which is they are anyways there for 200 days, so might as well have Akshay Kumar do the talking for you, or somebody else. So that is what I'm talking about, that the ROI will always be better with the celebrity face. Of course, then the pressure is to create good quality advertising, or even if you don't create good quality, you create effective advertising. Even then, a celebrity will work. So Akshay Kumar does nothing. Maybe a little bit of creative and lot more of product, which is also fine.
Right.
But a celebrity will always help transfer the message faster and further.
Brilliant. And is it that you crack the entire creative and the entire idea and they simply execute, or do they come in and say, no, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, and you have to really work backwards from their preferences?
Okay, so that is an art. So you always first think of the brand first, then you fit in the celebrity. And most celebrities are very reasonable. Yeah, they are so savvy, and you always work with. See, anybody who's a celebrity is very intelligent, intuitively. Otherwise, they won't be a celebrity. They are naturally very, very intelligent folks. Okay, so again, from the pop culture, if you feel that celebrities are not intelligent, that is not the case. They are very, very sharp. They will actually sometimes tell you about your brand that you don't know about, and they will have that point of view, and sometimes you respect that. Sometimes you ignore it, and you have a tact of ignoring and a tact of accepting. So I've worked with enough celebrities to know that how much to take and how much to let go, and they are also very cool. So if you tell them with reason, they will agree, and if their reason is better than your reason, you shut up and listen. So egos from both sides are very, very. I think they are taken care of. They are so confident in themselves, and as a brand, you should always be confident of yourself as a brand. So I think once that balance is creative, and we are working as equals, as a celebrity and a brand, I think then that is when magic happens.
Brilliant, brilliant. Last thing on this, very unique deal you had cracked with Ranveer Singh and the movie 83, right? So, and I remember seeing that in the theater. So, how does a deal like that work? are they kind of giving you some kind of a discount, or are you in fact paying more because you're looking at the IP of the movie and Ranveer Singh?
Okay, so it is always much more cost effective. I wouldn't say cheap or anything. It is cost effective because you are you are see basically you are augmenting the marketing of the movie because you are putting in some money to market the movie. So for the production house, it is a reduction in the marketing budget in that sense because I am putting that money. Uh, for celebrities, it is if they are very cool, of course they will say yes or no to the brand because they could be working with a competitive brand and things like that, so they have a say in that. And cracking of this deal is always effective, and Tutsi has been doing it very often from that point onwards. I was the first one to kind of recommend a deal like that because 83 was a uh, landmark film in its own right, whether it did well on box office or not, but it was like a once in a lifetime film. It is not going to be made again because there is no reason for it to be made again. Ranveer Singh was playing a role which was he was never going to play again, and no other actor will come back and play that role again. A landmark film, and I urge the brand to kind of associate with it. So we did that, and brands continue to do this, and a lot of brands, nowadays if you go to movies you will see a lot of brand logos with the movies. And I think these deals are brilliant because they help you get the stars come and act. I've done these deals in the past as well. From a brand's perspective, it's a great creative for you to get your bump up in some sort of, if you have a season coming and you want कि यार कुछ sale हो जाए या कुछ हो जाए. So then these become great, very cheap ways to create creatives which are highly effective. And sometimes it works on two ways. It either works as an effective ROI basis, or it will work very well as a brand piece. It will help you improve your brand health on some metrics. So it could work in either way. But for me, I think 83 Association will always be special because it was once in a lifetime film, and I think I'm lucky that I was able to crack that deal for Tutsi.
Superb. Thanks a lot for sharing these insights. I think there's a lot of chatter always कि यार celebrity क्यों चाहिए क्यों नहीं चाहिए, and I always used to wonder there has to be a reason, there has to be some metric which is improving. Otherwise, you will not see even startups today raise so much money just to spend on getting a brand ambassador or getting a celebrity in their content. I'll now move on to my next question. So, Saket, we spoke about celebrities and movies. Now, I want to get into, I think, the next passion of Indians, which is cricket. You mentioned earlier on, the MasterCard deal with Mumbai Indians. There's also the other folks you did at Dr. Vaidya's and the other ones, I believe, Pristine Care. So, how does it work with sporting deals and cricket companies and deals with them? If you can share more about that.
Indian cinema and cricket are two big religions. I think this line has been repeated, uh, I think, by everybody and their aunt. But that is the truth. Unfortunately, that is the truth. So when, as a brand, you're using cricket to kind of help improve your brand metrics, I think it's a great platform. So people do multiple things. Brands will go and associate with large properties like IPL, or they will go and associate with the BCCI or the ICC, depending on the scale of your brand and how many times in the year the brand is going to get exposure. So that is very important. So it always helps. It primarily is a brand activity. It's not so much the ROI activity, unless your creative during that period is also going to run on television. If you're only doing a deal when you're not do not have media monies on television or digital, and you're only doing a brand deal, which is a logo deal, or your identity on a jersey, or some association with the team in any manner, so those are brand deals. They will help improve your recall. So every time you're walking into a shop and you see a boat, there is a recall that you have. Or you see a Pristine Care, you will have a recall. If you see some of the brands like Dr. Vaidya's or Tutsi that we did a deal for with Gujarat Titan. Moment you see that logo, there is a recall that you will have, and these are very subconscious level recall. So every time you are exposed to advertising, say of Tutsi or Pristine Care, you will respond to that advertising slightly more. There is already a trust cachet that has built in your mind, and you will act on that trust cachet कि हाँ ठीक है ये brand देखा हुआ है पहले, and those CTRs, those ROIs will be more pronounced. So that is what will happen. So it is never a direct correlation. While there are companies which will help you, understand your lifts, brand lifts, surveys, etc., that you do during that period. But if even in absence of that, I can guarantee that every time you go on a jersey, if you've done a smart deal, now that I've done enough, I know which part of the jersey works really well for you.
I'd love to know more about that, of course.
वो सीक्रेट है, वो उसके लिए पैसे लगेंगे. But yeah, wherever, of course, the more expensive the jersey placement, the more it is going to work for you, because that many times you're going to come in front of the camera. It's as basic as that. But there are many other smarter way. Like, my favorite deal of any brand is Geo. Like, I think nobody beats Geo with such a smart logo. It just goes here, and you're done. You don't need anything. I think while they have all the money in the world and they have their own team, but Geo deal is probably the best deal that a brand has done ever in cricket. At least, and in India, I'm talking cricket. Hai to I'm talking about Indian cricket or IPL. IPL deal, I think it's the best deal that any brand has done. So. So that is what I'm talking about. And moment I told you about that, chances that whichever team you support, you remember the red color logo. आपको वो येलो के पीछे भी दिखेगा, ब्लू के पीछे भी दिखेगा, रेड के पीछे भी, सब जगह पे दिखेगा. वो लोगो इज priceless. The placement is priceless. So that is what I'm talking about. It's unforgettable placement and the power that cricket allows you to have. And so yeah, that is that. And there are jersey branding, there are on ground branding, there are association with IPL as a lead sponsor, and you get a lot of benefits out of each of these deals. And depending on the money that you have and your marketing objective, you can choose either.
Awesome, awesome. I think great download on, I think, celebrities and cricket and the Indian cinema. So thanks for that. So that was my question, Saket. How do you really bring in scale and variety into your content production, and how have you actually created a setup which produces so much content?
So I was, giving this a thought while you were asking the question. So in back in 2013-14 is when I started giving this a very serious thought. I was working with Mastercard. I was trying to figure out a way that how can I build an in-house team. While I did not have the chance to do that, Mastercard operated differently, but that thought never left me, because what was happening is globally, companies like PNG and Coca-Cola and all of that, they had already started building in-house creative teams. So if you go back today and even check, Coca-Cola will have a creative director, Coca-Cola will have, or Pepsi will have somebody, or PNG will have some teams like that. So they will always have these kind of people within the system. So that became an inspiration for me. So when I was working with housing.com in 2015 is when I started creating my first in-house team. So the massive campaign that housing.com did, almost 80% of that was created in-house. And I'm talking about budgets, media budgets of upwards of 100 crores. Now that entire production of that, which is the photography and editing and the copy and everything, was created by an in-house team. While we hired a photographer to actually shoot, but the entire creative thought, the thinking about it, the creation of the templates, etc., was done in-house. So while we had support of some agencies, but they were more support, the entire production and the scale and all of that was done in-house for the first time. And after that, I have never stopped. I have always created a team in-house. Now that depends on the brand. So you can either have graphic design teams, you can have editing teams. Nowadays you need both. You need copywriters, you need content creators. Nowadays brands also have in-house influencer and content creation team. Be Body Wise is a brand that I really love. They create a lot of content in-house. So they have an entire team which does only work that they do is create content. So creating of teams in-house is something that I've been doing almost for a decade now, about 9 years now. It is going to be a decade in the next 1 year. So I've been in a way a little ahead of time. What people are doing now, I've already started about a decade ago. So I think creation of a team in-house today for any brand of any scale, MNC or otherwise, is paramount. If you can't do that, then you find a way to outsource it, create a team which is only for you and not necessarily in an agency format. If you can't hire them on roles, you hire them through some of the other ways, वो आप HR से बात करो, आपको बता देंगे कैसे hire करना है. But you always need a team sitting with you to create a factory of creative outputs. And because performance marketing I mean will require you to always keep creating new things, so you have to create a team. uh, and you can use agencies as well, but agencies से आपको स्केल मिलेगा, क्वालिटी मिलेगा, बट स्पीड शायद समटाइम्स इज कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड. नॉट ऑल एजेंसीज डू दैट, बट स्पीड इज ऑलवेज कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड. लाइक आई हैव एन आइडिया राइट नाउ, आई कैन गो टू माय क्रिएटिव गाय, टेल हिम दैट यार कुछ बना दे, चांसेस आर वो 2 घंटे में बना के दे देगा, एंड आई कैन पोस्ट इट द सेम डे, and I can give it to the performance marketing team right there and then if they have a campaign that needs to suddenly go live. So this is the advantage of having an in-house team.
Got it. So very interesting, Saket. I think often I hear these couple of things and I'll just share those reasons why people don't necessarily build an in-house team, right? I've heard that career laddering is a big problem because, we are, let's say, a brand which is maybe into a certain vertical domain. I may not be able to attract the top of the talent. That's one. And the second part is generally, I guess, costs, where I think because work is sporadic and campaign to campaign, there may be months where there may be less work than actually what you're paying for. So what's your outlook towards that? How do you end up solving those problems despite of having an in-house team?
I think your question had two parts. One is an HR admin question, and the more the career and this kind of question. So HR admin question is
Right.
the ROI which the marketing team has to answer. So you don't build the team from day one. You first spend few months, few probably an entire year before you, and then you start hiring people one by one. You don't necessarily go on the day one and just hire everybody, because you don't know what is the dynamic in which you are operating. So you wait, you don't hire on day one. Second is therefore you are, so you know that if I have to give a presentation to the CFO on whether this is going to work mathematically or that is going to work mathematically, you have a case in point that you can offer. That is first part. The second part is on the career laddering and other things. So I think any creative professional, uh, the kind of monies that they are paid at a agency versus what they are paid at a brand side will always be, there'll be a difference. So you will be able to attract talent in the right way, and give them that opportunity to, a lot of, you go and speak to any creative professional, they'll be happy to work with a brand depending on which stage of the career they are. They will, because they know that if they start working for, there are other privileges that come with that apart from a career. Like there are, you will have sort of lot of admin and HR privileges that you will get working for a brand, while agencies today are equally competitive in terms of offering those privileges. But having said that, a brand is a brand. I don't think so you can take away that at all. Like if a creative professional goes to a bank asking for a loan, chances that if you say that I work for Unilever, you will get a loan faster. So all these things play up, and as at a leadership position, you need to know these plugs that you can put in when you're trying to hire somebody. So it always works out.
Very interesting. And just on the last point here, would you say that once I build an in-house team, are you removing reliance from agencies completely, or do you still go to them for special campaigns and projects?
You always go to them for special campaigns if required, but you are more or less removing reliance on agencies completely. So even with Pristine Care, we created, of course, a lot of performance scale was very large, but when I talk about campaigns specifically, in a single year we created close to 30 pieces of advertising, which may sound like a small number, but think about it. I'm creating 2 pieces of advertising of high production value and creative, which is going on television or on one of the OTT platforms or cricket or whatever. So nearly 30 pieces of advertising, and all of it, except for maybe one or two of them, were created entirely. So I had a writing team in house sitting. I was also writing. We were creating advertising, and nobody knew the brand closer than us. Not to take away from the agencies. Agencies bring in a different perspective, and that's why you hire them when you need that. You know that, and you have to let go of your ego at that point and know that इस time पे ना शान पट्टी नहीं करते हैं, खुद नहीं करना है. We have to hire an agency to get that scale or that new idea that you're looking for. So I think you need to have the EQ and the IQ to know कि how do I balance as a marketer, because eventually it's my campaign, right? So I'll want the best for it. If it's either I am writing, when I say I, as in my team is writing, or is an agency is writing and creating.
Awesome, awesome. I have one interesting question to conclude this podcast, but before
Mhm.
that, I must ask you, addressing the elephant in the room, right, which is AI.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of chatter around that, Saket. Everybody's talking about AI, use karna hai, embrace karna hai. I wanted to know from you, are there any assumptions about AI which you think marketers are getting wrong? And do you think that there are certain things which nobody's thinking only what AI will do to marketing function in the next 3 to 5 years?
So there is no elephant in the room to address. The elephant has entered the room and has already started breaking stuff. Okay, so I think many brands are using AI in its own little way to help scale. Okay, I think they are, and the elephant is not leaving the room anytime soon. Probably is never leaving the room. उसके लिए घर बनाना पड़ेगा. So you'll have to keep space for AI to come and disrupt. So that is that. AI will help in many things. It will help in uh, content creation. It will help in through, like, if I have an idea to present internally, I can use AI and image processing and generative AI, all of those, to present my ideas in a much better way. So if I'm writing a script and I need visuals to support that script, I can always use some of the tools that are available to create those uh, things and present. So all of that is going to happen, and I think it has already started to happen, and we know uh, the impact of it already. It always creates an interesting piece of advertising, and anything that is new is always welcome. In marketing is usually the first entity to kind of utilize any new thing. So I think there is nothing really there. You already have to accept that it's there, and it is going to come and disrupt in its own way. तो आपको ready रहना पड़ेगा. कैसे use करना है is up to
Correct.
you, but it's not going anywhere.
Are you using AI in a certain function, certain creative process?
Yeah, while it is something that we would want to refrain from commenting, but we do understand the power of it, and whenever we feel the need, we do go to it.
Got it. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. I think I'll jump to the last one to conclude the podcast. I think it's very evident if somebody spends even 10 seconds on your profile. Brand stories are something which you deeply, deeply care about, and you also say you're a storyteller. On your LinkedIn banner also. So I think I'm attempting to even create a question using storytelling. But let's say if you were to concoct a portion right of storytelling for advertising and marketing, what top ingredients would you put in to make it into an unforgettable experience? Because everybody says that I want a good story, but people end up sipping that portion and forgetting. How do you really make something which creates some great recall according to you?
Very deep question. I was not prepared for that. So okay, so I think storytelling is the, I think, be all and end all of marketing. You have to tell a great story. Now, how you tell it, there could be various ways you can tell a story. Uh, so you can tell a product story through a product. So the classic example is of Harpic. When they created that category, it did not exist in the country. They decided to create it. They created an iconic bottle which supported. They created very very simple, very highly effective advertising, and they decided to put it on prime time. सो आप खाना खा रहे हो और आपको टॉयलेट दिख रहा है. There could not have been a better time to let you know that, while it may seem very anticlimactic, but that was the right way to do it. So that's how you create a story. Sometimes you create stories through products and effective advertising. Sometimes you create stories through the way Fevicol created, right? They created some great pieces of advertising to create a story. And again, a category which is a carpenter category. आप तो जाके खरीदने भी नहीं वाले. आपके लाइफ टाइम में आप फेविकॉल, अनलेस यूर अ किड, यू आर नॉट गोना बाय फेविकॉल प्रॉब्ली 2 times इन योर लाइफ. जब आपका फर्नीचर पहली बार बन रहा है और दूसरी बार बन रहा है, शायद दूसरी बार बने भी नहीं, तो उसके अलावा तो आप लेने नहीं वाले हो. सो यू क्रिएट एडवर्टाइजिंग लाइक दैट एज वेल. यू क्रिएट स्टोरी, यूज स्टोरी टेलिंग टू क्रिएट अ brand or a category, and imagine how large that brand is now in terms of money that is it's making. So सो टॉप इंग्रेडिएंट्स आई वुड से दैट, सबसे पहले तो आपका बिजनेस ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है वो सोचो. उसके हिसाब से यू फिगर आउट द बेस्ट इंग्रेडिएंट दैट यू आर गोना यूज टू मेक दैट वर्क. And there is, I think, creativity का कोई अंत नहीं है. So you keep consuming creatives from different, you watch movies, you watch advertising, you watch people, hear conversations. So I am a writer, so the favorite t-shirt that I ever came across is that anything and everything that you say will be used in my story. So so अगर आप मेरे से बात कर रहे हो तो मैं आपसे कुछ ना कुछ तो लेके जाऊंगा. इट्स लाइक क्राइम मास्टर होगा, मैं आया हूँ तो कुछ लेके जाऊंगा. सो आई, एज अ राइटर, एज अ क्रिएटर, एज अ मार्केटर, माय आईज एंड ईयर्स आर ऑलवेज, एंड इट मे फाइंड एप्लीकेशन. आज मैं कुछ सीखूंगा जो मैं शायद 10 साल बाद यूज करूंगा. एंड आई हैव डन दैट बिकॉज you keep doing that. So storytelling only works when it works for the brand and the business. And I think that is the first ingredient that you need to, and the most important ingredient that you need to remember. And other things are like baki sab, everything is else is available. There are people who write really well. You can hire them, and there are celebrities and other opportunities that you can always use. But use them smartly, keep the brand and the business right at the center of it, and then weave a story around it, and it will always work. So that is what
Awesome.
will happen.
Awesome. I'd love to, find out where you bought that t-shirt. Sounds like really fun. I think it
Hmm.
also applies to a lot of content creators that if you're
Yes.
talking to me, I'm going to put you in my content. And one more follow up, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure you must have seen this chatter online, right? Where I think one of these online publications recently compared Tanmay Bhatt, who him and his team, who's behind, I think, Bold Care and Cred, which you mentioned just some time ago, with the legendary Piyush Pandey, who you also just mentioned with Fevicol some time
Hmm.
ago. They're saying he's the next, Piyush Pandey, and it's kind of split everybody. I personally love Tanmay Bhatt. Okay, I think bang on in his TG. I've kind of seen him through AIB while growing up, and it was really clutter breaking content, at least in my head. I was like, oh, finally, I was a South Bombay kid, so oh, finally I'm seeing some SNL kind of content in India, which really speaks my language and what me and my friends talk in college. And I was
Yeah.
really evolved that into a marketing. I mean, he's also leveraging storytelling, and he's used that same kind of humor, which is satire, to also now make my dad and mom smile when they see the credits, right? So, what's your take here, right? Do you think that it's a good comparison? Do you think storytelling is evolving? Do you think they both are right? Whatever your thoughts are, as a storyteller, I'd love to know from you.
Okay, so I think it is a fair comparison. He is doing great work, and it is, I think, you all credit to him that he can be at this point compared to Piyush Pandey, because when we talk about Piyush Pandey, it is like in that point in time in Indian pop culture, he did create an impact. So he was so present, and he really created advertising which appealed to people. In that particular generation, and even us as growing up, we saw that he utilized insights from his life and what he saw around him into advertising. So the classic, the girl running into the stadium ad, or the Fevicol advertising, or the Hamara Bajaj campaign, all of that was so in a time capsule. They are like perfectly for that time. And Tanmay Bhatt is doing exactly that. Whatever is relevant today, he's that. And because he comes with an outsider's perspective, and he's a comedian, right? So he has, anyways, is extremely sharp. So he uses that sharpness to create content and storytelling pieces now, which now form a part of advertising. In advertising is almost incidental in all of that, because he's so sharp that he can use that same piece in a stand up, and it will work. While he doesn't do stand up anymore, but it will work. So I think in the context of India that is today, he's probably the sharpest guy. He understands what is going to work, because in comedy you have to be contextual, you have to be today. And I think he's understood that really well, and he's used that and applied that to advertising. So I think all kudos to him to create that. And some of us, who are from traditional advertising, I worked in Ogilvy. When I was there in Ogilvy, we had the 25th anniversary of Piyush Pandey at Ogilvy. So while I was there, I saw that happen. But most of us, in the process of creating advertising, have forgotten that what brought us here. It is to stay in the present, and to stay. So I think Tanmay Bhatt has done that, and Piyush Pandit did that when it was the time. So I think it's a fair comparison. He can be called, and
Awesome.
yeah, all power to him.
Awesome. No, I love that definitive point of view. I think what happens with people who become legends, right? It's always difficult to compare them to people who have potential to be there. You see that in cricket and football or rap or and all these other genres. So I really love that perspective, Saket. And this brings us to the end of our podcast. I hope you had a good time today.
I had a lovely time, and thanks for matching the outfit with me. We agreed on a summer look, and we did that. And I was sitting in Goa, but till such time, we'll make do with this. And it was lovely talking to you, Kavan, and at such a amazing time answering those questions. And I hope the listeners and the viewers enjoy this conversation, and I can always pressy the answers and give it to you. But I think it was a free flowing, lovely discussion, and I loved every bit of it. So thank you for having me. You have a wonderful rest of the week, and
Awesome. Same to you. And once again, thanks for your time, Saket. For everybody who stuck along till now, thanks for tuning in. Very soon we'll have another marketing leader come in and share a lot of insights. So if you want to stay tuned, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much.
thank you guys.